Now, your host, Ken Brew, on News Radio 700 WLW.
Welcome on in. It's the Craftsman Electric Saturday afternoon extravaganza. Craftsman Electric, quality craftsmanship, it is in their name. So, a lot of us just don't feel loved on the job. I'm not saying this anecdotally. There is now proof, as Gallup has released its yearly findings. They do these things year to year to see what employee engagement is like. In other words, are you really dialed in to what the company wants to do? And employee engagement in the United States fell in 2021 to 36%. And in 2022, 32% of full and part-time employees working for organizations are now engaged. 32% in 2022. That's down from 34% in 2021, 36% in 2020. So just do the opposite math. That means that 68% of us don't really feel like we're dialed in all the time at work. And why? Well, the overriding thing that I took from this poll is that a lot of us are on the job and we do the job and we're not really appreciated on the job by those we answer to. That there's one strata for the people that run it, and then there's another strata for the people that actually do it. And those who run it really don't give their feedback, let alone their appreciation for those who actually do the work. And when you think about it, if only 68% of us are really engaged on the job, who is benefiting from that? Because certainly it's not the company. And it can't be the people that are not engaged because they feel it's a total waste of time. So what's going on here? Standing by to weigh in is somebody that knows. She is a licensed professional counselor and the founder of the Brain Performance Center. She's been on our show many times, and it's great to have Leigh Richardson back. Leigh, how are you on this glorious Saturday?
Hi, Ken. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm engaged. I'm totally engaged here. I can be nothing else but engaged. I've got to have great guests, great topics. I got to make sure I hit my brakes and make sure all the commercials run. If I'm not engaged, the whole thing falls apart. You know what I mean, Leigh?
I do know what you mean, Ken. The sad thing is a lot of people don't know what you mean. And I think so many people don't understand. It starts with engaging with your actual job. And I can't tell you, I used to have a previous life in HR before I got into the brain health business. And I think there's some overlap there, I've decided. But it starts with really being focused and committed to the job. And I can't tell you how many clients will come in and we'll talk about, how's work going? I don't know. I'm not even really sure what I'm supposed to be doing these days.
Yeah.
So, and you made the very good point. You know exactly what needs to happen when you're on the radio. You know exactly what needs to happen and when it needs to happen and what you have to do to make it happen. But a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of in my previous life when I worked in local television. I can't tell you the number of meetings and seminars that we were called to as a group. The bottom line was everybody needs to get up. They got to get focused, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to break off in teams, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And it 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day later, we were right back to where we were because, quite frankly, there wasn't a culture, there wasn't an atmosphere that fostered that kind of engagement. It was, this has got to get done here, here, and here. And the only reason why it has to get done here, here, and here is because the person that was assigning the work or the person that was overseeing the work didn't know what they were doing. And so all the meetings and all the kumbaya and all that in the world, it really didn't matter to anything because there was no focus or clarity coming from above. And I'm not letting employees off the hook. I think a lot of the problem here, Leigh, is it comes from the C-suite, which really doesn't know what it wants other than to make as much money as possible. That's what I think is going on.
And I can't disagree with that. And, managers their responsibility used to be to oversee tasks. But really, what managers need to be doing today is coaching performance. Mm-hmm. I've had people say they come in and they're so excited. They have a new dog. And they'll come, but does anybody at work know they have a new dog? Are they able to take their whole self to work and share? I got a new dog, or oh my gosh, I've had countless people say, you know, my boss didn't even know my kids' names. And my kids are 9 and 10, Leigh, and I've been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not engaging. They're not recognizing people for who they are on a whole self level.
Yeah.
And when you go and you feel like nobody cares, and nobody cares that the most exciting thing that's happened to me in a month is I got this new puppy, or I'm getting married, or we're getting a new house. I mean, there's all these life events that are really bring us great happiness, and we get a lot more joy out of them when we can share them and we can talk about them. Yeah. But if you go to work and you think nobody cares, nobody wants to hear that. They just want to know, did I get my, A, B, and C done today? That's all they care about.
Well,
I think that's the cause.
I'm looking at this Gallup poll, and their age and gender are both mitigating factors in a lot of the metrics that they got from this. Like for example, age. It says engagement for those under 35, which would be the Gen Zers, the young millennials, decreased by 4 points, and active disengagement grew in the same group. It increased by 4 points. So again, I go back to age. It's not like the old days. It's not like what the boomers went through, where you would work 30 years at a company, 40 years, 50 years at a company. They have a nice party for you. You retire, you get to go watch, and off you go. I think what the younger demographic is looking for is a job, a job that fits their lifestyle. And I'm looking at the things that again, millennials and Gen Zers care about. They want somebody that cares about them on the job, somebody who encourages them, things you just talked about. Their opinions matter. They have a friend at work, and all of that is kind of like a mitigating factor as to why there's this disengagement in America. Why is it so important, in your opinion, for younger people to have that, and maybe for people that were older, the boomers and whatnot, the greatest generation, if we want to bring them into the conversation? Why none of that really mattered? Why is this important now?
Well, I think our whole shift has changed. I don't think our awareness of mental health, which is brain health, used to be so minimal. If you got up, Ken, and you just didn't know if you could go in and get through the day, you would get up and you'd have the nastiest little conversation with yourself. Come on, man, power through. And I think that people have started to recognize, you know what? It's okay to not be okay. And this suck it up buttercup talk I have with myself over and over and over, that's not getting me anywhere. And I think that people are more focused, and I believe they need to be, because brain health is physical health. Everybody's you learn that you've got something wrong with your heart. Everybody is so concerned about dying, but you got something wrong with your brain. They're just like, oh, get over it. Come on.
Yeah.
And what we've learned, the brain is an organ just like the heart, and stress will affect the brain just like it does the heart. And I think that people have become more aware of what their mental health is. And I think that people have become more aware of that they need to feel that social connection. And I think the pandemic made a lot of people aware, when you can't see your grandparents because you might get them sick. When you don't have that sense of community. And when you're a teenager, you don't get that sense of community hanging with your parents. You get that from going to school and seeing other friends and seeing other people your own age. And I think that sense of community, once we had that taken away from us, it's something that I've had a lot of people tell me, I'm still grieving for the old norm. And I've recognized that it's a process. And the problem is I can't figure out the new norm.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And I think the other revelation you've just given us is that you call yourself Buttercup. That's fantastic, Leigh. I like that.
Well, it doesn't work, Ken.
Yeah. I'd like to tell you what I call myself, but I don't think we could say that on over-the-air radio. Okay, so there's a problem. We know there's a problem. There's disengagement. And we know the problem is multifaceted. There's no quick fix. There's no easy answer. But, my philosophy is if you're going to work, even if you're just putting in 8 hours, 5 days a week, a 40-hour day, that's your time, and that time ought to be important to you, and it ought to be spent in some sort of meaningful way. Well, if it's not, the easy thing to say is, well, go get another job, and you can, that'll solve everything. You and I both know that doesn't solve it. What is the answer here? How can 32% of full-time employees and part-timers are now engaged. 68% are not, according to this Gallup poll. That's an overwhelming figure. How do we go about the process of making that number greater for those who are engaged? How does that work, and how should we begin?
I think it's such a simple way to begin, and that's just start having conversations. Talk to the people that you work with. Learn about what they have going on in their life. Learn about, recognize them for what they do. And it's so many times when we think of recognition, we think of money. Social recognition is more important, I think, to the younger workers than it has been in the past. But making sure that everybody feels like they're heard and they're appreciated for what they do. That in itself, and just having conversations about it. Say, hey, could you share with the group, you did a really great job last week. Can you share with the group what your approach was, how you came up with that? And being able to reflect in that glory. I don't know about you, Ken, but a moment of being able to reflect in glory makes me feel about 10 feet tall.
Sure. And motivates you to try and get that same kind of feeling again. But again, that kind of falls back on the people that are actually in charge, does it not? I look at it.
Absolutely does. It absolutely does. Because there's so many managers that feel like, all I got to do, man, I got to make my numbers. That's all I got to do. Well, how do you make your numbers? You pay attention to the people that help you make the numbers. Like I mentioned earlier, those little life events, getting that new house or getting that new dog or your kid being recognized as on the baseball team. And having a sense of community that, this isn't where you just come and do your job. This is where you come and you work, but you participate. You know what the values are. People care what your mood is. Your manager might actually say, hey, you look a little down today. Is there anything I can do to help you? Or is there anything that you'd like to talk about? And just maybe you don't have a conversation. Maybe you do. Mm-hmm. But knowing that your manager noticed that you're a little off, that you didn't have that, your energy was low, that you weren't smiling the way you normally do, that means something.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you never know what that will do, not to just that person and how they go about their job, but what it means for them just about how they go along about their life. Totally buy it. Totally get it. Leigh Richardson, licensed professional counselor. More important, founder of the Brain Performance Center. Great having you on, Leigh. Stay well. We need to hear your voice, okay?
Thank you so much.
There she is.